and you'll just see all of the scar marks from the roads and the Quonset huts and everything that was grown over.
Oh, you still got a hot mic?
Not a lot of bird activity.
Yeah.
No bears, so you're safe there.
Too many islands to hop along with to get this far out.
Yeah,
No bears, but got the boars. It's very boring here, of course. But it's a beautiful
it.
island, though. It's nice for a week or so, I guess, isn't it?
It is.
It's just a beautiful place. But
Yeah, never mind a year.
what a year, yeah.
Come
That's
on,
a different story.
no McDonald's. What the hell?
Well,
They
the
haven't
white
brought
marks
that out
on the
here?
hill, that's where the C-130 ended up, is those white marks there on the hill as you're taking the turn.
Yep.
Uh-huh.
White marks.
Is that the
Around
actual
the,
wreckage
around the
unit?
corner.
Yeah,
Just
I've
beneath
seen
the
them.
hill.
Under gravel
Yeah.
now.
Yep.
Yeah, that's the
Yeah.
satellite image of the actual wreckage.
Oh.
Wow. Wow.
Oh,
So was it, I guess, turning left to try to come to the runway is my guess, or did they stall it, or?
They were turning right. They had gone too far to the left side of the
So they were
of the-
trying to do a quick 180.
yeah. I talked to the engineer. He survived. A friend of mine in boot camp, he was killed in the back, and there was a navigator. But I talked to the engineer, and he said that they were flying along looking for the airport, and then all of a sudden the front of the airplane just exploded. He just
Oh.
he ended up upside down in his engineer seat, and one of the pilots had to come in and get him out. But yeah, it was a bad way. The weather was just nasty, terrible.
mm.
So it was a controlled flight in a terrain incident.
Yeah, yep, CFIT.
Yes. In that situation, you know who's going to win every time.
Yep. So then we make our way back over towards the airfield, and then just on the other side, you get a real good visual of the bay. This is where the majority of the Allied forces landed in Massacre Bay, and the Japanese forces were over on the other side of the hill. So pretty much between the two was when they had the big battle. And when it was all said and done, there was 26 prisoners of war. Everybody else just pretty much did themselves in on the Japanese side. They didn't want to be taken prisoners.
Wow.
So it was pretty bloody.
Mm.
The mistake, or one of the mistakes that the American command made, all the guys that fought up here were destined to go to Guam. And at the last minute, they left San Diego and changed their mind, and they sent them all up here, and they didn't have the weather for it. So there was a lot of guys that got frostbite and just died from the exposure.
Wow.
So then you start to see all the pot marks, and you'll see some of the old roads, and you'll see where buildings were lined up in rows. And it's really easy to visualize how this was all set up for the battle during World War II. The beaches and there's a book called The 1,000-Mile War, and it really outlays the war effort in the Aleutians, and it was a tactical challenge at the very most, and most of it had to do with bad weather. It was just horrendous to try to operate up here in this weather.
Yeah, you can see it laid out pretty well.
You know, it's kind of eerie flying over this, thinking that those are the actual marks of history.
Yeah.
It's kind of
so long afterwards.
Yeah.
Untouched. Yeah. Beautiful place though here.
It is.
I like it. There's no trees. Also very mossy and grassy here. The textures are good.
Yeah, textures are nice.
Yeah.
Good for gravel. They can land.
Definitely.
That's right.
Where the flight plan has taken a big turn.
Yes.
Very, very big turn.
We
hiccup.
are at we originally started in helicopters, but now we're in gravels. But besides the point, we're at Papa Alpha Alpha Tango.
Right out the far
Or the
end of the
region.
Aleutian Islands.
Getting some war history in.
Yeah. So if you got flight share going, you could just teleport.
Oh, no worries. We're just, it's a nice day in Atu in the fictional world because the real world is just pretty ugly out there in the real weather. So this over here is what they call Holtz. This is Holtz Bay and Valley. And what the Japanese did was when they came in on this side, they prepared for the American landing. So they took the high ground. And so when the second wave of the Allies came up from the north, and they essentially squeezed the Japanese in between this bay and Massacre Bay. But when they showed up, the Japanese they took the high ground, and so they were really under. There was a lot of bombardment to the American forces just based on the fact that the Japanese had the high ground, and they, by reading, it sounds to me like they held it for quite a while. There was a lot of casualties in that skirmish.
So it was Massacre Bay named after some of the fighting there then?
Yep, it is. That was one of the bloodiest portions of the bay, or of the battle, and that's where they named it. So if you look straight down in the grassy field, you'll see the outline of an old Army airfield. You can see the runway, and you can see the taxiways. It's just to the left of the creek down there in the green.
I see it. Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
And they started to build that in the next valley. The Japanese actually had one in the next valley over, just on the other side of this peninsula, and the Americans had decided it wasn't big enough, so they built this one instead. And when I first saw that, I was like, so why would the simulator folks put a watermark? It's like, well, what the heck is that? And then when I looked it up in the history, I was like, wow, that's an actual Army airfield from World War II. It was
Oh yeah, you can just faintly see the outline there, right?
Yep.
Yep.
Neat. Yeah, these.
If you
types
think
are so
about
great.
it, the Japanese had the high ground in practically every skirmish in World War II.
I'm gonna do a touch and go into history here.
Okay.
I like it.
As long as you don't go into history.
That's right.
Okay.
That would be a Twilight Zone episode. Of course, if I do go into history, they would be admiring the gravel. It's probably the most sophisticated flying machine that they've done. You have to meet the inventor.
Okay, Ryan, do you do any GA flying up in Alaska?
I never got my certificate. I was always bogged down in Coast Guard aviation, and as far up front as I got was the engineer seat. But I always liked turning wrenches as well, so it was kind of there's a nice big dip in the middle there, so you got to plan your touchdown.
Yes, it hasn't been maintained over the years, has it?
Eagle River sure is beautiful up there in Anchorage, though.
Oh yeah, it is.
Oh yeah, that is that's a dip, all right.
So how's Coco taking it, Ben?
Do what?
How is Coco taking the fact that you're
Cotton, he's
actually
doing good.
right here?
Near my feet.
Yeah, right. We've got Brent with a white little poodle that's named Coco, so that's why the slip up.
Well,
there.
Cotton won't hold a grudge.
Yeah.
He just thinks it's back to usual.
Bob doesn't look like he'd have a grudge with anything.
No.
So most of this is, you know, that one corner of the island was really where the battle took place. Most of the rest of this was never really touched, just by virtue of the terrain, and it's as rough as it is. Trying to logistically, you know, they were out. It was like 3,000 Japanese, and the Americans came in with like 15 or 16,000. I mean, it was just. It was just an overwhelming of number of, but I think tactical wise, when the Japanese held the high ground, there was a lot of casualties on the American side.
Yeah.
And the ships were, they had a lot of problems getting people on the beach just by virtue of the storms that were up here. It was,
Sorry, what island are we on again?
we're on Attu, ATTU, all the way out to the, we're at the, almost at the western tip of North America.
Throw a stone across to Russia, couldn't you?
Yep, pretty close.
Here you can see that from Sarah Palin's house.
Yeah.
Yeah, Russia looks to be 450 nautical miles away, roughly.
It's about
There's
an
an
hour.
island in the yeah, there's an island
Yeah,
in
that's
the middle.
mainland. Yeah, that's not the islands, but yeah, it's probably half that.
There's two islands side by side. I think one's US and one's Russian, and about 12 miles between them.
Totally within reach, even on half a tank.
That'd be an hour flight time in the Vertigo, right? Attu to Richmond.
Slightly, yeah, around there.
Yeah. That'll be on the card someday.
They put a war memorial up just up the hill from the Coast Guard station, and they've got one road that goes up there. I'd been up there once, but they really emphasize don't go off the road because there's just so much unexploded ordnance that they you run the risk. So it's yep.
And the days after that, yep.
Yes, and a few more, that's right.
Further up here, there's a valley that's I don't know if it's maybe it's just an anomaly in the sim, but it's got to be one of the brightest green valleys that I've seen in the simulator. And I was out here with I think it's been a while since I've flown with him. He's a big history buff. Anyway, we went out here and we spent a fair amount of time at the very tip here, and that green, it was great because you could put I think at the time what's the float plane that the original one that came with the sim, yeah, we brought that out here. It sat in the water, and there was a black one, and the water was just so black against the green, it really made for a nice screenshot. But you know, this is the first time a gravel group has shown up to Attu, so but they've done a nice job with the scenery here without any trees. It's kind of
Yeah,
Yep, I like it.
amazing island. And
Only
certainly
that,
to me, I never knew that the Japanese touched any American land other than Hawaii.
I didn't know that also.
Yeah, I knew they were in the Alaskan, what do you call it, the islands, Aleutian Islands. I knew they were there, but
Did they get any further than a 2 AK?
Nope, because that was
Yeah.
as far as American territory. However, before the Attu battle, the Japanese got all the way up into Dutch Harbor, and they bombed Dutch Harbor. So the Americans responded with they put a bunch of troops in Cold Bay, in Fort Randall. There's an island with a big, huge volcano cauldron. Fort Randall was there. They basically put troops all the way down the chain out to Attu to reinforce because the belief was that the Japanese they attacked Pearl Harbor, and now they're going to attack the Aleutians and come up North America that way. So
Used it as a bridge.
yeah,
Mm.
yeah, that was
Yeah,
their
we were worried. We were worried they were going to attack San Francisco.
yeah.
Dutch Harbor, that's where a lot of the crab.
Yeah, they cleaned out most of it. When I was living out in Cold Bay growing up as a kid, all the World War II stuff was still out there, so it was pretty neat growing up in history, but it's all been since cleaned up. They've then back up through this valley and then a slight left turn or slight right turn, and we'll be at the furthest most western tip of North America.
I'll catch you guys a little later.
You got it.
Hey,
Hey,
take care.
man.
See you.
See ya.
Okay, cheers. Certainly fitting for the grapples to be here.
Yeah. Rough territory.
Yeah, I would still do this in the heli. Not gonna lie.
Oh yeah, definitely.
A future trip I can see, Will.
Totally.
That's all better to it.
I'm thinking, we don't
This
have to
is
go.
a good search and rescue area. Use the whole island.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's true.
It'd have to
I'm
be
Just seeing
verticals,
some of this
but
great
If
green
only
you
there
were
were
talking
some
about
trees
there.
to
Okay.
hide in.
I'm
with an island like this, you just pick a corner.
yeah, I'm thinking helicopter, probably mountaintop jumping around in Denali. Not to the top, but I think some of the smaller ones would be pretty challenging.
Yeah. I guess Mount Everest is out of it.
Boy,
Yeah.
Not go that high. Yep.
Bit past its.
It says its service ceiling is 20,000, but
Yeah.
Yeah, but how long will it take you to get there?
quite a bit.
Yes,
Well,
that's
turn
right.
on the high performance mode. It'll be a little bit quicker.
yeah, that valley will come. It's coming up right over here.
There's some weird white lines too,
Yeah.
depicting
Just
the edge of the grass and the rocks.
lots of texture issues here.
Yep.
It'll be nice once they fix the elevation data in this area. It'll be pretty awesome. Nice rough and rugged area. Good to travel around. A bit like Scotland, some areas like this.
Yeah.
Very similar.
So I was out plotting the route for the midweek excursion, and Coast Flyer comes whipping past me while I'm trying to plot out the route, and then so then we started to get into it, and he's chasing me in the backcountry of Cordova and Vertigos, and I'll tell you what, he cornered me and I couldn't get out. I ran smack into some granite back there, and it was a lot of fun, but boy, I'll tell you what, if you don't keep your head on a swivel, it was that thing really moved in the valley. It was a great time.
Yeah. What, you were doing 350 knots, were you?
Yeah, I had to pedal to the metal, and yeah.
Oh, there's some bright green mountains down there.
Yeah,
Yep.
that
Yeah.
there's the beach right next to this one that we were. There it is. It's a good place for a touch and go. To get the sun right on it, and it's it really made for some.
There's a few lakes on the island too.
This would be a good one to water ski. Haven't done that in a while.
I'm waiting for the water spray effects to come in.
Yeah, that's gonna
It's
be
not the
awesome.
same without it. Needed. It's okay.
Yeah.
Ben is back.
Yeah.
I can see you smiling from here, Ben.
Yeah.
It's here.
Cotton's probably saying, "Ah, this is more like it."
Yeah, this is how it used to be. So, where are you guys landing?
So right up here on the right up front. It's a little bit.
Amazing part of the island.
So right at the
Ben,
very
help us
tip
swim?
here, we can put down. Yeah, actually, I did swim when I went out here on a mission. It was polar bear. It was a polar bear jump day, so me and the rest of the guys on the station, we jumped in
Oh
the
my.
ocean, and I made a tactical error because I didn't know how deep the water was, and I couldn't touch the bottom, and the current was running. Fortunately, I was able to swim back, but that was pretty stupid.
That was close, yeah.
It was,
Push.
oh, here's the.
Yep. The tip is
land
a
on
very
the-
small tip, isn't it?
Yeah. Maybe you all land on the end. We could get a group shot, and we can say,
That
hey,
is-
the gravel
Yeah.
group at the most western part of the North
Ben's through
America.
there. Sounds nice.
North.
Actually, the most eastern point. That's because it's the
That's
other
right.
side of the 180 meridian.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. That's right.
Alaska has the most northern, western, and eastern points in the US, don't it?
You take your pick.
Nice fact. Yep.
None of them are as warm as the most southern point in the USA.
Mind you, I can imagine you could say the same thing if you were standing at the North Pole.
I love this black sand. It's always it makes for really nice screenshots.
Yep.
Yeah.
I like it also. Alaska has a lot of those black beaches, right?
Yeah.
It's quite nice. I love it.
Well, we're not in Kansas anymore.
Supposed to be on the beach side, right? Okay. Yep.
That's it. This is amazing. It's like asphalt.
Oops.
Hit a rock.
Wow, that's quite the gravel group there. If I didn't know any
I'd say
better, I'd
so.
say, if I didn't know any better, I'd say we're doing a weekend flight.
For Tuesday, for me at least, it's pretty good.
Is that a campfire in the middle?
Try and get out of Dragon's roof here by the looks. Come over. This gap here.
Oh, there we go. Gotta be there.
This is a what do they call them? circle up and, you know, you have the wagons at the end of the night, circle up and do a campfire in the middle.
Yeah.
Circle, yep, circle the wagons.
I shot.
There we
It's
go.
definitely,
You know,
definitely
more of a
gaggle
circle of the
gravels.
wings, but
Totally.
Go out in the drone and get trucks.
Turn on your landing lights. Looks really cool. All the torches blowing in the middle.
Oh yeah, it
Yeah,
looks like
yeah.
a star.
Yeah, exactly.
The island's a bit bleached out behind, but I'll turn
Yeah,
on
the only
the-
question is how do we take off from here? Full power and then straight up and then all the same from?
Yeah.
It's like
Drop-
chicken
drop
with
flap
gravels.
3 and pull
That's
back.
something the Blue Angels haven't done yet.
And may the best gravel win.
They all win.
Yeah. The lighting's very bleached out here, whichever way you go. Just looking
Yeah.
for
Yeah, there's some texture issues for sure.
must be the high latitude.
Nah, texture issues and lighting stuff. It's
Yeah.
scenery. They'll fix it eventually.
Oh, there we are. We got photographs of the gravel.
The gravel
as
meeting.
West as you can go in the States. Directly north of us is a lot of Russian mainland.
That's it.
Directly to the north, yeah.
Zooming out on my
Zoom
map.
out in,
Oh yeah.
zoom-
Yeah, I see.
yeah. So
Yeah.
it's the long way over west.
Indeed. Well, we got very far west.
Yeah.
It looks good. Let's
Yeah.
see.
Well, AK, you should be first.
Well, if I
Question is, where do you go from here?
Sneak through through some wings somewhere.
let's see. Okay, there. There we go.
Then
We're off and running.
oh, nosed it.
Shoot.
I put my gear up by habit.
Stupid brakes.
Well, that was a good adaptive flight plan. Okay.
Well, I appreciate you guys letting me take you on a side trip, and just a little military history up here in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah,
Nice.
absolutely.
Still want to fly the one you prepared for today, though. Maybe another day. Or when you can. Looks
Yeah.
like a nice plane. Compact fee.
Everyone's left on the ground there.
Really love the. I threw 40 knots of wind. I really love the wave action these guys did.
Good
So
point. Let's add some wind.
realistic. It's got a great look to it.
14 knots, right?
Yeah, that's what I put.
Okay, so usual heading to 70.
Yeah.
Okay.
40
Shit,
knots
looks
of
nice.
wind.
No problem. Yeah, we did it in Scotland.
I saw that that thread. It Scotland has a fair amount of winds, I think, don't they?
Oh yeah, pretty much non-stop. Wow, the aircraft really shakes like crazy now at 40. I need to disable some turbulence or something.
Head AK
Yeah.
off at the pass.
Remove the gust. Okay. It's nice with 40 knots. Yep. Just set the gust to 0. Makes the plane shake
Yeah.
too much.
Yeah, it creaks a lot. So I know you built a solid airplane, but boy, when airplanes creak in the wind, it's kind of
Yeah.
unnerving if you're the
I
pilot.
know it is, right? Like, yeah, totally.
That's just imitating a Dakota, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, the creakiest planes around.
So
Uh,
on the south side of the island, there was at least one American submarine that was sunk during the war, and they found it about, I think it was like 5 or 6 years ago. There was a research vessel out here, and they found it almost entirely intact. I think some of the stern was gone, but it was the swordfish, I think is what it was. And yeah, I don't know if they knew the particulars of why it went down, except it was under enemy fire, and it just disappeared. They didn't know what happened to it until they just happened to run across it. Which, that seems to be the case a lot of times. You know, it's like, well, we never knew that was there until someone happens to
Yeah, exactly.
find it. So I think this side of the island has done much better in the texture than the other side there. It still has some problems, but there's a lot of you go beachcombing, you can find a lot of the glass balls. Over the years, I think they've gone to plastic, but it's almost like an Easter egg hunt with the glass fishing floats, and it's I think a lot of folks have collected them, of course, you know, for $5 a piece or something. They're all different colors, and if you get the ones that have water inside, those are the ones that are really rare because the water has actually seeped through the glass and started to build up inside the glass ball itself.
The black coastline here at the water's edge. Unlike the rest of the island.
We came up here on a deployment from California, and one of the guys was a big surfer, so he brought a surfboard up here, and over in Shimya, which is the next island east, he did some surfing over there, but he only did it once. He said that water was about as cold as you could get, and I told him, I said, you know, I'm guessing it must be just one of those when you just check the box and say you surf out in the Aleutian Islands, but so Shimya is it's a military facility. In fact, if you Asobo didn't put it in the sim, there's nothing there. I get the impression that somebody in the military says, you know, we don't want you putting that in there.
Yeah.
So but it's got what they call a backscatter radar, over the horizon radar facility, and then there's a Boeing 707 that they keep over there for side-looking radar flights along the border. So it's another one of those. If you don't have a need to be on the island, that we really don't want you. We really don't want you there. So that was the nice thing about the Coast Guard. It was pretty much carte blanche of, hey, we need to go in there and search and rescue or whatever. So it was.
You're always welcome, right?
Yeah.
You know, all that bouncing around in 40-knot wind remind me that Gunnerman said he got sick yesterday in VR.
Oh.
Did you set your gust the gust to 0?
I don't know.
It doesn't matter if you change it or not to 0, you're still wiggling.
Yeah, a little bit, especially when you go over the ridges. There's some turbulence.
Yeah, I was pretty smooth there.
Yeah.
That bridge.
Yeah.
If you go down right above the water, it's just smooth as glass. Get up above it and you're all over the place.
Did Gunnerman get sick flying the helicopter?
Yeah.
I don't
He's
know.
Yeah. Yeah.
I just know he was sick in VR, but I don't know what he was flying.
Okay. Yeah. Good point. You'd think if you were going to be anything, the heli would do it for you.
Yeah.
Yeah, turbulence here.
Oh, quite a bit of it.
Where? I don't see Mike.
no enemy line here.
That's it. Yeah, this is gravel country. You could do touch and goes all along the coast here.
Shall we? It's a nice challenge with this wind.
Some of this terrain looks like it's icing on a cake that's just been, you know, dived on the edge of the slopes. Well, you look like you're in a alley down there.
Yeah, it's just skimming the around here a little bit. Nice place.
I've found a couple of P-38 Lightning was out here. They recovered it, and now it's sitting outside at Elmendorf Air Force Base in a restored condition.
Oh, nice.
Ah,
They did
cool.
a nice, yeah, they did a nice job with that, and I think they also found a P-40 Warhawk that was out here also that was recovered. Over on Atka Island, there was a base over there, and they had like a 2 or 3 star, I think it was a 2-star general that flew out during the war, and it was kind of like I guess like a tactical mission where he wanted to see where the troops were, and so anyway, he went out to Attu, and I guess he saw what he wanted to see, and he went back, and he couldn't get back into Atka because the weather closed in, and they ended up running out of fuel, and they ditched the they put the airplane in a valley on the far end of the island, as far away from the enemy troops as they could. So apparently he was a fairly high-ranking military value that they didn't want to lose. So it's kind of interesting that, but that's a typical weather. They lost more airplanes to weather-related incidents than they actually did to combat up here.
A high price to pay.
Yeah.
The challenge is that a little bit. So then
So that island off to about the 2 o'clock position, that's Chimya, or now it's called Erickson. But nice runway, but 10,000 feet, and they've had more than a couple of occasions where commercial airliners have had to stop in there because it's the flight route from Asia to the U.S., and so they had they had, I forget which airplane it was, but apparently the result of the investigation was somehow the slats inadvertently got deployed at altitude, and the inside of the airplane just looked like a mess. There was blood. The passengers were just thrown inside the airplane. They ended up landing in Chimya, and then the Coast Guard went out there to medevac a lot of the passengers because they just got severely injured. But it's nice to know you get a 10,000-foot runway in the middle of nowhere. You need to use it.
I wonder if that's an E-Tops airport.
Yeah.
What's the name of that island, AK?
It's Erickson.
Oh, yeah.
It's Papa Alpha Sierra Yankee. Someone's added a scenery to it, but they're using a program that does like Orbix. I think there's an Orbix add-on to it to kind of get it to look like it does, and I've never been really interested in doing it because I'm afraid to throw something in there and kind of muck everything up. So, and I figured I'd been there in the real world, so if you look past the airport, you'll see a real small strip of land, and they used to have a runway, and I think it's still out there. You can see it. There was a runway that went along that beach strip out there, and they there's a picture of a B-26 Marauder that's on that runway, and it amazes me how those guys would land an airplane that big facing into that mountain on such a small strip of real estate. But then so you can see where the plot marks and everything, they've used a lot. By the way, this depiction, all these taxiways, none of that's there. It's just the runway that's got the markers on it. Everything else is just added in. Yeah, I don't know what you do. I think you get an extra paycheck if you're out here for a year.
And you can't spend it on anything.
Yeah, you get to save your money because there's nowhere to put it.
Exactly.
You need your money for medical bills when you get home. Like that.
Yeah, because you went mental.
Yeah.
I gotta go soon, guys.
Alright.
Yeah, that was the big tour of that too.
Nice, thanks, man. It's a very nice tour. Thanks for the usual wonderful explanation of the whole the history. Fantastic, man.
Thanks for letting me drop in and play tour guide. It's always a good time.
Enjoyed it, Ray.
Absolutely. You still need to fly the other tour that you planned, AK.
Yeah.
Ah,
Yeah.
I think Will and I both do the same thing, a full throttle approach, because the wind is so strong. I will.
Yeah, I'm trying to see how slow I can go.
Oh, you can go backwards here. Definitely. You definitely can go backwards. The strip is just nice, guys, with the wind. You want to try something fun? Take the one where Will and I are. We can just hover and you can go backwards.
Yeah, I see what you mean, AK, about the size of that.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Nice hovering, Will. I'm behind you.
Yeah, I am. Feels like a helicopter, quite honestly.
It does. It does. Is there a difference? Gravel and helicopter?
All we gotta do is just face this way, or else.
Yeah, I turn around and you're blown away. Instant takeoff.
Yeah, this is pretty.
Here comes Kraken. Slender.
Oh boy, your tour guide, Gigi's gonna fire me. I just destroyed the front end of my airplane after.
Due to the overhaul anyway, there's going to be a big upgrade for your gravel, so just as well do the one shot.
Wow.
Yeah, it's always nice to play in the wind.
It always reminds me of that SAR case when we were low over the water and it was raining with all that wind.
Yeah, that was nice. I like that one. It's good to have these custom weather settings as well and stuff.
Oh yeah.
There we are. Three old fellas out here on the spitting.
That's right. Who brought the brew? Oh, actually, let me see. Anton brought the tea. Rocket, I'm guessing you probably had at least one beer because your computer's up and running again.
No, beer, unfortunately, but some coffee and iced teas.
Oh, there you go.
That'll have to work.
Feels like we're playing with choppers again here.
Yeah. It's seems funny seeing this group of gravels in one spot and then the label's way over the other side of the bay there.
It's an invasion force.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
I'll sign off as well then. All the best.
Me too. I gotta go. Okay, thanks guys for the wonderful
Okay.
flight.
AK again.
Yeah.
Everybody.
Thanks, AK.
Fine.
Thanks,
good.
guys.
Yeah.
Enjoyed it.
Cheers all.
Yeah, likewise.